Stay tuned at the end of this episode for a preview of Amanda Knox's own podcast, Labyrinth.
Lillie had a big event today, you guys.
I want to lay the groundwork for this whole thing. So I want us to go back to
Bristol's already bored of us.
the reveal, the bet, the result.
Yep.
And then the next step.
So I guess that's a good way to do it, because the dichotomy between the four of us, I love pissing Steven off. It's
She
one of my
does.
favorite things.
I'm aware.
Yeah. It's
Everyone likes pissing me off.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do.
It's easy, that's why.
Yeah.
Just
Love
like
you.
You just
And
have
he-
a big red
I'm
button.
super easy.
Yeah, he's got a big red button, and I like to push it.
It's a good thing I didn't tell everyone where the button was.
So, oh
I know
God.
where it's
Funny
at.
thing about
No,
my
it's-
button.
Steve, it's not easy to find. Not hard to find. It's right there.
It's not easy.
It's easier to push
Water.
my button than it is for Jay to say that sentence, is what it is.
Truly, it really is.
So,
Flank snacks. Bong.
for anybody who is aware, Steven tried to run a 50-mile race.
So he has gone to the extreme. He never ran before.
Yeah.
And then he got a wild hair up his butt last year to run a 50-mile
You could
marathon.
say he went from 0 to 50.
Well, I
Well,
didn't
0
actually.
0 to
38.
50. So he never ran. He got a wild hair up his butt to go run a 50-mile race, and
It's 'cause I
he
paid for it.
literally went
Yeah.
100% in a day, and had a running schedule and a training schedule and all this stuff. And so he runs nonstop now.
Yeah, so what was it, was it November?
Yes.
Yeah, November 21st.
So Steven
Jesus, the time has flown.
registered
Right?
and paid for a race, a 50-mile race, and Steven's a little bitch and didn't finish. He
76% of it.
76%.
Hey,
club.
he did 38 out of 50 miles.
think
on
the
his
official was
very
38.2.
first
Yeah.
race. On his
Something like that. but
very first race.
76% completion rate.
That's a C.
Yeah. Not even
That's what I got on my
C+,
Spanish
that's a
assignment
C.
Good
last
for
night.
you, bud.
I don't care.
So anyway,
It's a
Bell
pass.
curve.
I thought, what better way to piss Steven off than to register for a marathon and complete it? And I did. Today.
Yeah,
You ran the whole marathon?
apparently.
I completed this marathon.
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
No, and so we made a bet when I finally confided that I registered for this marathon.
It took a lot of effort.
And if you want to give your parameters of the bet,
Yeah, so my
I
parameters.
lost.
So the bet was that Lillie had to run a full marathon,
yeah, I had to
start
complete the
to
marathon.
finish. She had to run the full marathon, start to finish.
I had to complete the marathon.
You had to run the full marathon.
I
There
had
was
to
because you
complete the
can't ride a bike. You had to run. That was very specific because I didn't want any biking or any vehicle. So I was very, very specific.
Yeah, I had to complete the marathon.
So
By running.
Yeah, I had to complete the marathon.
did you drive this
No,
fucking
I didn't drive
marathon?
the marathon.
Oh my God.
Keep going.
And that if she did not run the entire marathon,
Yep,
that she would. I don't like that you're leaning on that
The
word.
ring bear.
Oh my God.
It's not, though, because you had to complete it by running.
Yeah.
And
I can
completed.
confirm she completed it, and she did not bike it, swim it, drive it, or any other means of
All
transportation.
right.
That's
There's
true.
there seems to be a lot of.
Keep going. What
All
was
right.
the bet?
Okay.
What was the
that-
bet?
If she did not finish running the entire marathon, she would have to dress up as Edgar Allan Poe and go to the Horse You Came In On saloon, which we have had an episode on, and recite the Raven, the full poem, in Edgar Allan Poe garb. Now, if Lillie did run and complete the marathon, then she would be allowed 3 slaps at time of her choosing without warning.
Yes, it was a traditional bet. The traditional slap bet was you choose 5 right now, all in a row,
Right.
or 3 at any given point.
And I
of
myself,
my choosing.
I could not bring myself to slap Lillie.
So,
So I
came up
chose
with
the Edgar Allan Poe one.
Yeah.
And I guess Lillie ran and finished the marathon today.
finished the marathon.
Did ya?
Sure did.
You
So-
look really good for
in-
just running a
in-
marathon when you don't work out at all.
But it was,
fucking hate
I mean, it
working
wasn't like supremely fast. It was
Right.
6 hours and 37 minutes.
I got my completion time.
Right.
6 hours, 37
Do you
minutes.
have an official completion?
Yeah, don't
document?
look at that yet.
Don't look at what?
The thing I just sent you.
You sent me something?
Yeah. Well, I blacked it out because I was going to post it on Instagram. So everybody can see it. That's my official completion document. Oh, I got numbers too. Did you see the number? Oh, that's Bristol. Here.
Was
What's
it
your daughter?
23,002 or something.
More people registered for this marathon than the Boston Marathon.
What was the name of it?
The Home Run Marathon.
Home Run Marathon.
Home run marathon. Okay.
I hashtagged it on Instagram if you want to take a peek.
Yeah, we'll finish the recording first.
No, I think you should.
Yeah?
Yeah, go ahead and take a peek.
I don't think I should.
Okay.
I think
All
we
right.
should.
Well, then you know what?
I just want to make sure that we're not.
While we're recording that I won. So do you concede?
No, I don't.
Huh.
I don't, because you've been very definitive about saying you
I completed it.
ran a marathon. And actually, so I had something to say.
I'm sure
Let
you
me see
did.
if I can find it.
Oh my god, did you like write it in your notes?
I did.
Was it your
That's
mother's
That's very
butt?
Steven.
So you inspired me. And I would like you to know that today I also completed a home run marathon in 4 hours and 14 seconds.
You dumb bitch.
You
We
dumb
knew you were
bitch.
lying.
God damn it!
Suck it, bitch.
I fucking knew you fucking knew. Especially when you were like, God damn it! When you,
I didn't see
who
that.
told you? Who told you?
Are you serious?
Was
Nobody.
it those bitches?
No.
You
It was
told us.
Brandon and Chantel.
You told us.
You told us.
downloaded the home run marathon bib number into our And Now We're Haunted Google Drive. I saw it. I looked up the race yesterday and I called Megan. I was like, this motherfucker.
So also,
This sucks because I deleted them.
so
I know you
hang
did. I
on.
checked today.
Hang on, y'all. I just want to say, like, it was very fishy because Lil and I are like, we're like besties, and she would not give me any information.
I didn't want you to ruin it.
So
would
I
not
wonder.
have
I
ruined
wonder-
Yes,
it.
you would have.
So
Oh
I
my
wonder
gosh.
why I was
Prize
so
before
adamant
guys.
when I said run the marathon, and why I have told Brandon and Chantel. And so I will admit, I didn't know Lillie was going to break this news on the recording. Well, I'm going to save the recording. I had a picture on my phone I was going to show her, but I'll save
Show
it for
it to me first.
No, I'll save it for later when we go over to the bar.
Yes, and he,
I'll show you when we go to the bar. But
Yeah.
All right.
anyway,
Well, why don't you? Okay, so this sucks. But
The
I did
TikTok?
complete the marathon, and as
You-
did you. You actually
Lillie,
have a completion rate
I
now.
have to say, watching you with your evil laughter all day long, he fucking torched you.
My friend Allison finished 7 minutes behind me.
so where did you guys go to take those running clips?
Annapolis.
We went to a trail.
You
In
spent,
Annapolis.
you
Run
spent the
today.
day in Annapolis?
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
to fake
so
this marathon.
What sucks is that when you were like, "What time? What time? What time? What
why
time?"
do you think I
Yeah,
was
I-
doing that?
We were laying in bed.
I knew you bitches
No.
don't like to get up early.
Here's the thing: we were laying in bed last night,
Yeah.
and I had this moment, and I go, "Jay, what if Steven knows?" And he's like, "Nah."
I was like, nah, no way.
Oh, we knew, baby. We knew.
So yeah, so you're asking, but what's funny about this is I was like, no, this could track. Because we got a call from the vet yesterday. Jax needed a booster shot, and we had to be in Annapolis today
At
by 8:45.
Oh.
So we were actually gone all day.
I ran by your house twice.
And that's
today.
why
I
you
knew
were.
you
That's why
fucking
you were
did-
like
you
dog
would.
care, and I was like, nah, Jax has a vet appointment.
I
Yeah.
was saying dog care because I knew you weren't running a fucking marathon.
We weren't home all day today.
I
Actually,
admittedly I know this. I stalked
Well,
the
so
shit out of you.
Funny
we
though.
planned all of our errands to stay out of the house in case you kept running by the house.
because we knew that you would. But here's
Because
the
that
thing:
is him.
I really, oh man,
See, this is good.
so
I'm sorry. I'm
I-
really excitable in the microphone.
God
You
damn it.
are. You guys are loud as fuck.
So we didn't do this, but I had this big plan too. I was like, I want to go and get a can of vegetable soup. And I want to take some vegetable soup in my mouth. And I want Jay
Oh.
to take a picture of me pretending to vomit on the side of a trail. It didn't happen,
This was the surprise.
but I was pushing for it. And I'm so fucking mad. So I've been bitching about this with the computer too. Because I'll click a document that comes into my personal email. and it immediately links to our podcast email. And every time it does, I'm like, God damn it. Because I do it for work sometimes too, and I go in and I immediately delete it. And so
she
thought,
sent a letter to the CF or an email to the CFO through, and now we're haunted.
No, it wasn't the CFO, but it was another girl. And I was like, please disregard that. And anyway, no, I hope nobody from work's listening.
I don't. So
I'm gonna send it to
here's
people
the
from
crazy
work.
thing. Do you want to know how I found those? Because I don't go in there unless I'm researching.
Yeah.
It's because on Friday, we uploaded this episode.
Yeah.
I was at work on duty, and so I saved it into the drive, and I went to work, and I was like, I can just upload it from work. So I pulled it up on that computer, and there's this picture. I'm like, huh. But I didn't look at it then. And I was driving home like 6 hours later, and I was like, there was a picture I wanted to look at. And I went in, and I was like, this is a bib. This is for a race. Let me look this race up. So the whole drive home, I'm like watching this TikTok. Do your friends really talk about running and annoy you? Do you hate it so much? Why don't you sign? And I was
Did
like,
you see the TikTok?
No, but
No,
he came home.
I called her
very
instantly.
Excited.
I was like,
Very
this son
excited.
of a bitch.
I gotta tell you, I was getting real pissed off at you this morning. I was like, Steven keeps fucking calling.
Yeah,
Like,
because he was trying not to spoil it.
I know.
And he
we
was
know.
getting
That's why
really
you
pissed
wouldn't
off.
answer the phone.
Oh my God. So last week too, we're at the bar and two
Motherfuckers.
sheets to the wind. It's before we all left the bar.
Right.
Okay.
And Chantel's like, we're talking about this fucking race. And Chantel's like, something like, how long have you trained for it? And I was like, oh, I haven't. and she's like, what? And so I brought her back to the pool room. And I was like, I'm going to show you, but you can't fucking say anything. So they've also seen it. And they know.
She was just like, look, guys, it's a race.
I like Jay's version of
Yeah.
Drunk Lily.
That's pretty accurate. I put in a request that technically we both lose, therefore we both have to perform. I have to dress up like Edgar Allan Poe,
You know what? Hold
and
on.
I get to slap him.
Hold on. As the commissioner, I need to recess for 24 hours to determine an appropriate adjudication, which I will consult the third party.
It's an all or nothing.
I want her to do it.
No,
I'll
I'm going to
take-
consult a third
You'll
party.
take it? So I get to slap you?
Can we do that?
So she has to dress up as Edgar Allan Poe, take your ass down to the Horseshoe Road Inn saloon, and slap the shit out of you there.
No.
No.
She
I get
has
to
to.
slap him whenever the fuck I
yeah.
want. 3 times.
She has to recite the poem there.
I think if they both agree on it, that's okay.
I will take this into consideration,
All right.
and I will issue my ruling.
All right.
You want to get there, Stephen?
Gotta get that.
Pow.
Gotta get that.
Pow. It's called.
Anyway, please
It's a boom boom
lay
pow
on.
song. Am I the only one who's listened to the Black Eyed Peas in the last week?
Probably
No.
yes. They are as out of date as MySpace.
I prefer the new
Bingo,
Kidney
bingo.
Beans band.
The what?
They were on my Peloton ride.
The new Kidney Beans band. Black Eyed Peas is like last year's recipe.
Oh, God.
Okay, so
I'm too
today we're going to
tired
talk
for this.
about
Foxy Noxy.
Foxy Noxy
Foxy
and
Noxy.
the murder of Meredith Kercher. So this was a crime that happened in about
2007.
Don't do
The
it.
year of
2007.
Britney.
No, everyone was making fun of my pronunciation.
Free
You
Britney.
said
I'm just going to throw it in
happened.
there.
Steven and I just looked at each other
and
and
shook our heads.
Okay,
said,
I'm going to
no,
go
don't
back.
do it.
This was a crime that happened in 2007.
Free
Credit
Britney.
her happened.
I love. No, this is good. I
No,
love.
we're not going to get through this
Yeah,
today.
we are. We got
No,
plenty
we're
of
not.
time. We want it to be.
We
longer.
don't.
We got.
Anyway, so this Amanda Knox story, like Jay said, it's happened in 2007.
Free Britney.
Thanks, Lily.
Yeah, in Perugia, which is in central Italy, about, I don't know, 100 miles north of Rome.
Okay.
In the, I guess it's important to note the province in Umbria, which was bordered by Lazio and Tuscany.
How close is it to Catalina and the wine festival?
Oh, we should go
I
there.
don't think it, I think
Not-
it's like on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like,
One could hope.
Total
California,
opposite.
you know, it's like Austin Powers once said, Southern California looks
Looks
in no
nothing
way
like.
Perugia, Italy.
All right. Well, one could wish.
So it's an old, like, very historic Italian town.
it's very pretty.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
settled into like the rolling hillsides, and it was settled in like I think my notes say 310 BC, so like it's old as shit.
Old motherfucker.
And really, the only thing that Perugia is like known for around the world is it's the largest cocoa crop for Nestle, or as Phoebe would say, Nestle.
Nestle. So
Laos.
you're wrong. The other thing that they're known for is this murder.
Oh yeah, like now.
Now.
It's not a very big city. It's about 160,000 people at the time of the murders in 2007. Though they do have a big university. The University of Perugia has about 34,000 students, or about the enrollment of like the University of Maryland, or about 3/4 the size of the University of Washington, which is, I mean, it's a pretty big school.
That's a big ass school, though.
That is a
Yeah.
big school.
Yeah, so it's just this little quaint 160,000 population city in the middle of Italy, in the middle of these rolling hills, and Lily's holding a bottle opener that has a corkscrew that's the shape of a penis.
Fun fact, did you know that ducks'
I
penises
hate
are
this
corkscrews?
fact. It's not a fun fact. It's very unfortunate.
That's disgusting.
It's a fact, though.
That's so gross.
I've seen a little bit of a tangent. I've seen 2 duck murders on my runs in Baltimore. Male ducks that are raping the female ducks, but they're in the middle of the harbor and holding the female ducks' heads underwater, and then the female duck never comes up. I've seen that twice.
So sad.
Yeah, I've seen that twice.
Let's cut that out.
No, leave it.
This is a murdery
I mean, you can cut
podcast.
it out. I
We're
don't
talking
care.
about Amanda Knox and the murder in Italy, and we're like, ducks.
I feel worse about the duck being murdered
I
than
do.
I can't watch
Which
movies
is
where dogs are
terrible.
murdered. I'd rather see a human.
John Wick. Great movie. Sorry, the dog doesn't die.
Spoiler alert, I'm never going to watch that movie. Thank you.
Yikes. Anyway, so back to the human being murdered.
Oh, thank God, not another dog.
Little baby gonna
No dogs were murdered in this story.
Not to our knowledge. Not to our knowledge. So the victim, Meredith Kercher, born Meredith Susanna Kara Kercher.
What a name.
Why? Yeah.
Yeah, just, God, it's like your mom, Meaghn.
Ugh, that's not the right way you spell the name.
Yeah, it's how my I guess for context, that's how my mother chose to spell my sister's name.
That's
For
incorrect.
people who are listening, my sister's name is Megan, but it's stupid.
But she's the wrong
but we
Megan.
call her Jennifer. That's a story for another
Oh,
day.
yeah.
But I convinced her she was adopted at one point in her life,
For years.
and her adopted name,
Was
her
Jennifer.
former name was Jennifer.
Which is funny because not only did she believe that she was adopted, but also that they changed her first name just for
Yeah,
shits and gigs.
Just be like, I don't like your name.
Shits and gigs.
I was like, don't go and ask. Don't corroborate this with mom because she's not ready to tell you you're adopted yet. So you just need to be respectful of mom's timeline.
So Meredith Susanna Kara Kercher, because 4 names is just totally not normal.
Very British.
Easy.
MSCK.
Well,
Is she
was known,
British?
yeah,
Yeah.
she is. She was
Okay.
known to her friends as Mez, like, Pez candy, but with an M.
All
Mez.
right, then.
She was born on the 28th of December in the year 1985
I like the
And-
way you said that.
in Southwark. I was going to say she was born.
28th of December, the year of our Lord,
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say the 28th of December in the year of our Lord 1985.
Hark,
I hate.
hark, the birth of a young maiden.
Mez.
Well, she was born in
Mez.
South London in Southwark. And she's kind of born into some wealth. She
See, now, what's her name again?
Meredith Susanna Kara Kercher.
Okay, so knowing that she's from London and knowing she's from Southwark, it does make a lot more sense if you like kind of hold your nose and give it a British accent. It definitely makes more sense that
Do it.
why her parents did. Yeah, I want
Born on the 28th of December, 1985 in Southwark, South London.
Say her
Doesn't work.
name.
You gotta be like,
Oh.
and now announcing.
Arriving, Meredith Susanna Kara Kercher.
You sound a little more Australian than you do
Yeah.
British.
Yeah, like but
Oi,
like,
crikey.
but like the Britney Spears Australian version.
Oh my God.
Free Britney.
Put another shrimp on the
Free Britney.
bobby.
Free Britney.
Put
so,
a shrimp on the bobby.
so this poor murdered girl grew up kind of in a wealth family. She attended the Palace School in Croydon, which is a private boarding school.
England. Fix your fucking names, man. Come
Yeah,
on.
seriously.
Zing.
That's a tangent for a later time.
Yeah.
Growing up, she became fond of Italian culture, and when she was 15, as underprivileged students do, she spent the summer in an Italian town with her family
Interesting.
called Sessa Aro. God, I'm going to butcher this. Sessa Aranunca.
I'm sure that's right.
So that really like drove her passion for Italian culture, and as she got into the college years, she got into the University of Leeds, and she studied European politics and Italian culture with a concentration in economics.
Okay, so a 15-year-old.
Very fascinating, though.
Yeah, a 15-year-old. To me, culture in a 15-year-old's mind is like, oh, I like a Fiat, so I like Italian culture. Like, that's the extent of their
Well,
knowledge.
from
My
the time she
culture
was-
when I was 15 was like going to 7-Eleven.
I didn't have any culture at 15.
You still
I
don't.
skateboarded.
Lily still doesn't have culture.
My culture was Band-Aids and tar.
Yeah.
I have more culture than you stupid swine.
Says the girl who's paler than a snowman.
Just because I'm pale doesn't mean I don't have culture.
You're really far away from your mic.
Yeah, you are.
She's-
Just because I'm pale doesn't mean I don't have culture.
we need to get her some like Ritalin or amphetamines or something.
I'll take some amphetamine.
Wake her the hell up.
Yeah. So yeah, she studied European politics and Italian culture with a concentration in economics, as underprivileged people do.
Looks
She
like a
sounds
penis.
much smarter than me.
Yeah. So in 2007, in August, she flew to Perugia for a year abroad. And this is where Amanda Knox and
Are you or are you not a knock?
Amanda Knox. How's it?
Knox.
Knox.
Man, fuck. Amanda Knox met Meredith Kercher in Perugia. They met about the middle of September. Kercher and Knox moved into a 4-bedroom ground floor flat in a house in the district of Via della Pergola 7. I'm not sure if that's really all that important.
I think
but-
that's like their address because
Yeah.
they refer to that as the apartment whenever they talk about
okay.
it.
Okay. So like it's not a villa per se, but it's like a split level house, like
Yeah,
the
they
top floor
turn
and
in-
the bottom
It
floor.
looks like they turn it into apartments.
Her flatmates were 2 Italian women in their late 20s, both studying to be Italian lawyers, which is
Which is interesting with this
that
case.
they live with lawyers. And their names are Filomena Romanelli and Laura Metziti. And then Amanda Knox, the 20-year-old American student from UW. The lower level of the house was occupied by 4 Italian young men with whom both Kercher and Knox were quote-unquote friendly. But late one night in mid-October, Kercher and Knox met Rudy Gede, which he's a very important figure that comes in a little bit.
Yeah, I was saying, don't get ahead of yourself.
No, just remember the name Rudy Gede as you're listening along.
Rudy. So, Amanda Knox, we are going to focus a lot on her for this story. She was born July 9th, 1987. She grew up in Seattle. This story was actually really big in Seattle. I'm from there, and I just remember this is like the JonBenet case for Lillie. Like, this was everywhere when I was younger. So, she's the oldest of 4 girls, so she's 3 younger sisters. And like Meredith, when she was 15, she traveled to Italy, and her favorite book was like Under the Tuscan Sun, and she just fell in love with the Italian culture.
That's a book and not a movie.
It's both.
I didn't realize it was a book too.
Yeah.
Wait, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Huh.
I didn't know that.
There you
Shows you that I'm not very academic when it
Yeah,
comes to
I mean,
books.
that's what it said. Maybe it was, maybe they meant the movie, but like her mom gave her the book or
Oh.
some book, and she
That's cool.
fell in love with Italy and the culture. So they kind of traveled all around Italy when she was 15 on a family vacation, and she really just like fell in love with it. Go.
It's already open.
Oh, okay. And back. She went to Seattle Preparatory School for high school. So I just went to a high school, so that sounds really fancy to me.
blank public city high school.
Blank public city high school, last in math in the whole state of Washington. She graduated in 2005 and went on to study at the University of Washington. And all I have to say to that is go Cougs. And she
Wait,
studied linguistics.
University of Washington or Washington State?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying my
oh,
response
gotcha,
to her
gotcha,
going to
gotcha.
UW is me saying go Cougs.
Husks.
No.
You only like them because you were a cougar.
Oh my god, that's true.
Cradle robber.
I also got accepted into Wazoo, so it's
She did.
You're
fine.
double coog.
I'm a double coog.
DP. DC.
DC, that's it. In 2007, she made the dean's list. So again, to me, like, good on Seattle Prep because she's a smarty pants.
I'm on the dean's list, but it ain't a good one.
She looked into like studying abroad, and she worked part-time jobs for a year to save up money to be able to go.
It'd be really cool to work a part-time job and save up enough money to go to Italy. I work
Yeah,
a full-time
well,
job
with
and I
the
can't save up
money
enough
her-
money to go down the street.
Yeah.
What the money her family
True.
probably has. She is described as outgoing, but I think also like a little odd. Like, I don't know. She like felt like she was very young and naive and needed some growing up to do. So she looked at going to Italy and studying abroad for a year as a chance for her to branch out and to be like resilient and depend on herself because she was so dependent on family. And I mean, I think that just kind of happens when, I mean, she was only 20. She went to college in the same city she grew up in. Her stepdad actually really did not want her to go to Italy because he felt she was too naive to go abroad and study and like be without any support for a full year.
Yeah, and if you watch the Netflix documentary, I think it was filmed or released in 2016.
Yeah.
The opening scene is her sister asking her, like, "Are you excited to go to Italy?" And she's like, "Fuck yeah, bitches!"
But I love the way she says it because she's like, "Fuck yeah, bitches!"
And she's very
It's very fun.
20. Like,
Very 20. I mean, it's like 20 going on like 15 drunk at your friend's house.
yeah.
That never
Great
happened.
description.
And then you flash forward to her in 2015, and
That
she's
was me.
very Seattle with
No,
like
it
a
wasn't.
She's super Seattle, you guys.
fisherman's sweater and
She's
like
got,
combat
like-
boots.
Okay, it's like a boyfriend sweater, and
Okay,
she's got
same thing.
some like very obviously like American Apparel jeans, and her boots, and her like very
Cats.
short haircut, and no makeup, and cats.
Lots of cats.
Lots of cats.
So she has some boots and cats.
She's got boots and cats, you guys.
Cats and boots and cats.
Um,
Okay, sorry.
So like Jay said, in her time in Italy, she lived with these 3 other women. So I'm not going to get too into that. But they met in September when they both moved in. And she said that being in Italy, she thought it was going to be like a big scholarly program. She'd have to work really hard. But she said that it was just like a lot of fun and not a lot of work. So she got a part-time job at a bar. To just kind of
As
keep
they
her
do.
busy and to make a little extra cash while she was in Italy.
I'm going to own a bar and Lily's going to DJ for me.
Nice. It's going to be fun.
I will.
What's
Be just
the-
like Paris Hilton.
What's the
Ugh.
Spanish name for puzzles? I forgot it already.
Rumpelstiltskin?
Rumpa cake, Ruma.
Aren't you taking Spanish?
Okay, we don't need to get into that.
Amanda was said to prefer to hang out with the locals in Italy. She didn't really hang out with her American friends or like the students that she was studying with. She wanted to like dive into the culture and hang out
Yeah.
with the local people.
Yeah, the bar, which was owned by Dia Patrick Lumumba. which
Lumumba.
He comes in later, but she spent a lot of her time with like the locals at the bar, even when she wasn't working.
Yeah.
So Kercher's, Meredith's English friends saw relatively little of Knox, who preferred to mix with the Italians rather than with her English-speaking colleagues and
Yeah.
amigos.
I could
Which,
see
I mean,
myself wanting to do
I
that.
was
Yeah, of
going to say,
course.
like, if you're going to study abroad for a year and, like, that's, like, your big chance, like, yeah, like, meet the locals, really get invested in, like, the area and the
Mhm.
culture and what their life is like instead of just being a tourist for a year.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
when Lil and I were like in France or Spain, obviously,
Or Italy.
really, we tried to like. I'm so bad at learning like other foreign languages, but we would try.
I tend to integrate okay.
Yeah, you guys do. You went to New Orleans and integrated great.
yeah,
TBD.
Integrated right into the sidewalk.
The urinal, but we'll,
Yeah.
Well, that was Jay. I didn't do that.
yeah. So anyway, getting kind of now that we know a little bit about Knox here and Meredith
Free Britney.
Kercher, the two main people obviously in this story. We'll fast forward to
Some
middle
other
of
stuff.
October. This is when a bunch of the other players start to be introduced.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Can we recap first?
No. So,
I hate
October.
you so much.
So our
Okay, so
our
to recap.
our next main character to come into this story is Rafael Solicito.
Solicito.
Solicito. I like his
I wonder
name.
if it's Solicito.
Solicito. I think it's Solicito from what I was
Solicito.
watching.
Solo Chizo.
He met.
Solo Cheetos.
So much Cheezo.
Oh,
Ooh.
Speaking of, crunchy or puffy Cheetos?
Ooh, crunchy.
Crunchy.
Meg?
Yeah, I think I have to go with crunchy.
crunchy. But have you tried the white cheddar puff?
Look at her. Here she is again, picking both options.
Yeah, it's fine, but
Every
also this. Have you tried the Old Bay?
list
cheese puff?
5 Christmas
no,
movies.
I
Here's
have
12.
not.
Dude,
You haven't tried the Old
the
Bay?
Old Bay
No.
cheese
Oh,
puffs
those are-
are delicious.
They're from the Hers company.
It's a Maryland thing. You cannot
they're
get them anywhere
so
else.
good.
From what I've seen,
A lot of
They're
Old
very
Bay
good.
stuff is a Maryland thing.
Megan never
When
had
we
Old Bay.
Yeah, when we see them, we will pick some up so you guys can try it.
Not just, yeah, we'll pick some up, but when we usually pick one up, it's not like one. It's like
we get
6.
several. They're so good.
So we're meeting Rafael Solicito.
Which
Solo
I
Cheeto.
find interesting because this relationship, like, very fast tracked. Like, this went real quick.
Sorry, I just remembered. Isn't the cheetah named Raphael? No, he's named Chester, isn't he?
Chester.
Chester. Nowhere near.
Yeah, that
He's
you were
Raphael.
way off, babe.
They shared a letter. You know, they didn't even share a letter.
No.
Not even
Alright.
a ladle.
So-
Not even a ladle.
At this point, it's middle of October, and Kercher and Knox have met Rudy Geed, who was a common guest of the flat downstairs.
They weren't in the same social circles. They weren't great friends, but they did attend a lot of the same, like, events. Parties, concerts, things like that. Festivals. They hung out at the bar.
Speaking of festivals,
Festivals.
in mid-October, on October 25th, 2007, Meredith...
Free Britney.
Free Britney. Meredith and Amanda attended a classical music concert where Amanda met Rafael Solicito. Now, keep in mind, this murder happened on November 1st, and she met...
And this
she
was
met-
what date?
October 25th.
Just a
is when they
quick recap.
They first met on October 25th of Britney's year, and the murder happened on November 1st. So we're not even a week later.
They were spending time together nonstop.
All the time.
And Amanda was like, she was staying over every night. Like, I just think, I'm like, wow, that's really fast. But who
How
am I to
quickly did
talk?
you move in with your husband?
Shh, we're not talking about that.
Okay, moving on.
Technically,
Technically, it was
she
like-
moved into my place while I was on deployment. So
With his permission, you guys, with his permission.
Anyway, so Rafael Solicito was a 23-year-old computer science student at the University of Perugia. So
in 2007.
and like, so that's, you think about that. He's by all rights and American standards, a nerd.
Yeah.
And he's meeting Foxy Noxy, this exotic American girl in Italy. So he's like, fucking jackpot.
imagine-
So, also, what I think is interesting because she chose the nerd of all nerds. Like, she was kind of considered to be like this like American blonde hottie, whereas back in America, she was just like this cute blonde girl.
America 6, Italy 10.
question: is Raphael alive?
Yes,
Yes, he is.
he's
Okay.
kicking ass.
he's had a glow up, and he's marrying up. You guys,
So
Really? He's engaged?
yeah.
He's
Okay.
married now, I think.
Oh, okay.
I'm
As
going to
of
look at this
2020.
up at the end of the episode.
As we
No.
were talking, for 6 days up until this murder happens, alleged murder.
Well, it wasn't alleged. Who
She
committed
definitely
the murder?
died.
She definitely died.
So when this homicide happened,
Thank you.
it was on the 1st of November. And looking back, Amanda and Raphael only really spent 6 days of hot, passionate bar hopping together. Fast forward to the first day of November. It's a public holiday in Italy. What holiday? I don't know. 'Cause
I don't either, and I
I don't
didn't
care.
bother to look it up. So
Yeah, because whatever.
good for you,
4th of
Italy.
July.
So Kercher's Italian flatmates, Meredith Kercher, blah, blah, blah. Her Italian flatmates were out of town.
Because they were
it's-
Italian and it was the
Italian
holiday.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And as were the occupants of the downstairs flat. Same reason. So I guess you just flee to nowhere. I don't know. So that evening, Meredith had dinner with 3 English friends of hers at one of their homes. She parted company with her friends around 8:45 p.m., allegedly, and the flat was located about 500 yards from...
So she like
Her boot
allegedly
house.
got home at 9-ish.
roughly around 9
reading.
o'clock. And by Knox's account,
Foxy Noxy.
Foxy Noxy, she claims to have spent the night with Rafael Solicito. I just like saying
What
the
a
name.
great name. But They say Raffaele. Like, that's what she calls him, Raffaele.
Raffaele Solacito. Ciao. She arrived at the apartment the morning of November 2nd, 2007, finding the front door open and drops of blood in the bathroom she shared with Meredith.
Which she didn't find weird.
Yeah, she didn't find this weird, but
I mean, to be honest, if I found a couple of drops of blood in the sink, I would be like, oh, like Steve cut his face shaving. That's gross. He didn't clean it up.
Exactly.
But she was like, okay, it's weird. The door's unlocked. And then she's like, oh, blood in the sink.
is it in the sink?
It was in the sink. There were a couple.
Yeah, in the bathroom. Yeah, in the bathroom sink.
For me, I would see some of that stuff, even if it was in our bathroom, and I'd be like, oh, I hope Jay's okay.
Yeah.
But
I
it's a flat full of women.
At this point, yeah.
Even still, if it wasn't women, I would still be like, oh, I hope Jay's okay. He must have just like nicked himself.
Yeah, I would think like, oh, or
So in the sink,
in the sink.
what are you thinking about?
What's coming next, Jay?
Oh.
That was a good tangent. What are you thinking?
Oh, okay. So Meredith's bedroom door was also locked, which I have to pause here. Why is she just like strolling home and be like, oh, I'm going to check Meredith's bedroom door?
Well,
Probably
so
'cause the front door was
apparently
locked.
when she came home, the door was unlocked. She went to go take a shower. So that's how she saw the
Yep.
drops of blood. And she was like, weird, but whatever. She took a shower. And then after that, she noticed like bloody footprints on the bath mat, which at that point I would be like, what the fuck? Let's call in the BAU.
And then the way that the bath mat was lined up with the shower was in direct line of sight to the toilet.
And she saw poo-poo in
And
there.
Poop was left in the toilet.
And that, she said that's when she like freaked out and red flags went up.
Because everyone was allegedly out of town.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Meredith.
Except for her and Meredith. So like after getting ready, she like went to go find Meredith and was like, hey, are you okay? Because there's blood in the bathroom.
And defecation.
And
that's
poo-poo.
unflushed in the
Yeah, so
toilet.
she saw the poop, she saw the blood, she took her shower and she got dressed because she was freaked out. So she left the apartment and she went back to Solacito's home where
Yes.
she asked him to come back with her to look at the apartment to find Meredith.
Why didn't she call him?
It was less than a block.
Yeah,
I think.
like
His
it
house
was
just up the
very
street.
close.
Okay.
I mean, I would run up to y'all's house and be like, yo.
I didn't. I
You'd
would
hit
call
that hill
you
and be
guys.
like,
You guys are 3 blocks away. I would call you or Steve and be
I
like,
mean,
I
that's-
need you to come here right now.
I would.
But you wouldn't hang out there. You would make your way in this direction.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Because you wouldn't want to stay there. Like if something's fucked up, you're not going to give somebody time
Yeah,
to
like
like,
I'd
figure
call,
out.
I'd call
Okay.
y'all, but I'd be like, I'm walking
I'm
to your
walking
house.
towards you.
I mean,
Okay,
it's 3
yeah.
blocks away, and Jake called me to bring him his keys to his house today. So
Yeah,
I
okay.
think we
In
all know.
fairness, I was helping you clean your house, and you
Sure.
I left them on your coat rack. So
I'm
sue me.
not denying.
I was
it.
really
Don't
proud
sue
you
me.
hung them up on the coat rack. Good for you, Jay.
It's a habit.
Good one to
So
have.
coming back to the house with Raffaele, they both noticed a broken window in one of their flatmates, Romanelli's bedroom, and alarmed that Kercher didn't answer her cell phone. And let's backtrack a little bit here.
Yeah.
Kercher always carried 2 cell phones. She always had her Italian unit and then one her parents gave her,
The English one.
the English version,
And she couldn't, and she always had her phone on her, like in her pocket.
always.
She was very ahead of her time. She was very 2020 and attached to her phone.
So yeah, she always carried 2 cell phones with her because in case of emergency, she wanted to be able to get a hold of her parents, or in case of emergency, she always wanted to get a hold of her flatmates or contacts. So the fact that
She couldn't get an
Amanda
answer.
called her and no answer to either of her phones set off more red flags because she, in her time that she had known her, the 2 months, she had never not answered her cell phone ever. So noticing the broken window and then Kercher not answering her phone, Raffaele tried to open the door because it was locked and he couldn't.
They like tried to break it open because the investigation said like there was damage. Like they were like, yeah, we did that because we were trying to break her door open.
And during the trial, this is an important fact to remember. The door initially was locked. So as Amanda, Raffaele, and the police are notating,
And Raffaele was the one who tried to bust the door open.
it's locked from the inside. So in a few minutes, that's important. Remember that. So anyway, Solacito has a sister, and she is in the Carabinieri, which is the national police, which is one level below armed police. So they have like billy clubs and like tape measures. I don't know.
Carbonara. I'm relating everything.
Here's
to
my
food.
tape measure.
Yeah.
You
So
just dish up carbonara.
at 12
Rad.
at 12:47 p.m. on that day, Amanda calls her mom and says, "What the fuck do I do?" So she's like, call the
Call
cops.
the cops.
So then she turns to Raffaele and it's like, call your fucking sister. So at 12:51, he places the call to the Carabinieri. And their number is
1-800 fettuccine.
112.
1-900 fettuccine.
1-900. So during this time, during the police are being called, Knox now calls Romanelli, one of their roommates.
Because she called the roommate because she's like, hey, I'm worried. Have you
seen-
heard from Meredith?
Right. So Romanelli arrives at the flat. Now, at this point in time, the door is still not open. So now we have the police, Amanda, Raffaele, and now the Romanelli has arrived at the flat.
Okay, good recap.
So they're doing a kind of a canvas, which I find this a little bit weird. They're doing a canvas of the property, but they still haven't opened the door yet.
Yeah. I
So
thought this
they're-
was okay. I thought this was very weird too, reading. Like, why wouldn't you just try to go in?
And they didn't rope off the scene. So everybody is frantically searching for any clue of where she is, but they haven't opened the door yet.
Yeah.
So they're contaminating the crime scene. So they find both phones owned by Kercher, which was typically carried with her, were found in a nearby garden about 50 yards from the property.
Interesting.
So Romanelli became concerned and requested that the police force open the door to
Yeah.
Kercher's bedroom.
They did not. Yeah. Police did not feel it necessary until they
Yep.
found the phones, and that's when they broke
the
the
police-
door down.
Yeah,
Well, hold
maybe it
on.
was like
But- Go ahead.
maybe they didn't want to open the bedroom because in the US you're not allowed to enter into someone's house without
that's
permission.
exactly
So it was a
what happened.
domicile and they're like, no, that's her area. We can't unless we have like a substantial reason to.
So that's what happened. The police declined because they didn't want to damage personal property because
guess-
under Italian law, that makes the municipality responsible for the damage.
Yeah, and I guess
Okay.
a poopy toilet and bloody footprints aren't enough.
well,
So- circumstantial.
And the roommates
Yeah.
being, and 2 of the 3 roommates being like, go in there.
So
yeah.
Romanelli's male friend who has arrived on scene forced the door open at 1:15. So from the first police call at 12:51
So not even an
to
officer.
1:15,
That's what I was about to say. Not even an officer.
not even an
A
officer.
third party.
Third party.
Like, this is like the 8th party.
And this is
Wow.
when they discovered Meredith's body was inside the
It's
bedroom,
not a pretty scene, you guys.
lying on the floor, covered by a duvet.
Hmm.
So the two things that you want to keep in mind here moving forward is the door was unlocked, or the door was locked, and she was covered by a duvet. Those are kind of important things. So at this point in time, it's a crime scene, and they've discovered that Meredith's throat had been cut to the point of another 30% and she would have been decapitated. So like a very
This
forceful,
was very violent.
deep wound. It wasn't like somebody swung a knife and accidentally like cut someone's throat. You know, it was like a
Because they
very
do that all the time.
no, but you know, like in like I'm trying to find like a scene like I don't know Game of Thrones where they're like fighting and they cut the throat. It was like
It was
held
like
her head back and then like it was just like a forceful like grab her by the hairline, pull the
It
head
was,
back and
yeah,
cut.
it was like very violent. And she had, yeah.
So
Lily.
getting into the
Nobody wants your throat,
investigatory part, the police officers made their first assumption with the notion of the duvet. They thought that there's no way it could be a male because the psychology of a male murdering a female, they don't cover up the body. Whereas
and I've heard that too.
whereas a female murderer murdering another female would typically cover the body.
See, I've
Yeah.
always heard that it's more like not necessarily male female,
someone close to the
but
victim.
it's someone that if like you know the victim, you're more
Yeah.
likely to, regardless
Which
of
is-
your gender.
Which could also be part of it. So if you take those two into account, in the police mind or the investigators' minds,
They just thought it was a woman.
they've already got like their leading suspect.
Yeah.
Got it. I'm going to jot that down real quick. Cover.
For
See,
future reference.
If
cover
I
the
ever
body.
get
Body.
murdered, please go to my husband.
we
It's not
have
gonna be you.
he's on the record. So if there's a
Yeah.
string of female murders covered by blankets in Baltimore.
Duvet covers.
So over the following days, Knox was repeatedly interviewed
So
because ostensibly she's a witness.
Yeah. So this happened. So on the 5th, I believe it was, she voluntarily
The 5th
went in.
of November.
Yes.
Yes.
Remember? The 5th of November.
The
The gunpowder
That is-
treason and plot.
Okay, shush. Yeah, she voluntarily went in to be interviewed because she was told like you're just a witness. We need some information. So she's like, yeah, I'll come in, no problem.
But this was a piss poor decision because voluntarily going in, she wasn't given legal counsel. Under Italian law, they're not required to provide legal counsel until you have been formally charged.
Yes.
So when she went in, police looked through her phone. And on November 1st, she had a text from the bar owner, Lumumba,
Mambo number 5.
advising
That's what
her.
I think of too.
Yeah.
Lumumba sent her a text saying that her waitressing shift had been canceled. And she told the police officers that she was staying over Solicito's apartment because she wasn't working.
And she responded by saying, okay, something along the lines of like, okay, great. Thanks. See you later.
And when Amanda wasn't provided legal counsel, she also wasn't provided an interpreter. And in the Italian language, that exchange allegedly signifies that you had made an appointment to be there and you weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
So even if your shift was canceled, you were supposed to still show up.
Oh, and no, see, I thought that the interpretation like exchanged to being like they made an appointment to meet up.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yes.
You're right. Sorry. Retract what I just said.
It wasn't see you later. The translation was like I'm making an appointment to see you later.
Right. And that's why coming up, Lumumba is arrested because of this text message.
So, and also she is still learning the Italian language while she's there. She's not fluent yet.
So this text message is implicating that her and Lumumba were scheduled to meet up around the same time that they suspect the murder had taken place.
How can you say see you later and then be like, no, that proves it?
I mean, it makes sense. If I say see you later, it could be like I will see you later.
Linguistics, man. It's very complicated.
Anyway, so she's telling the police that she didn't have an appointment with her boss, Lumumba, and she's saying that she only went back to the house the morning the body was discovered.
So this is also like over a couple days.
Mhm.
So like she voluntarily went in on the 5th, but on the 6th, she was charged with murder
So police arrested her
based on her interview.
her Solicito and Lumumba on November 6th, Free Britney year.
Free Britney.
Because the evidence that they had at hand was saying that if she was with Solicito and she had an appointment with Lumumba around the time that the murder happened, then they had to have been the ones to commit the murder.
I'm going to tell you, man, if I had known the names were going to be this difficult, I would be drinking water right now and maybe some Adderall.
It's pretty in depth.
We have Red Bull.
But
that actually water and Adderall is in fact Red Bull.
it's fair.
You guys are paying a lot of money on the streets for Ritalin.
That's
So-
all you need, Red Bull.
However, though, Lumumba, which
Lumumba.
we're going to see him exit the story now, the charges were dropped against him because he's the owner of the bar and the
he
bartender.
was working, and
he was working,
a lot of
and-
customers were like, nope, he
No,
was
he
serving
was there
me.
the entire evening. Charges against Lumumba were dropped because he had a verifiable alibi. So,
Like we said, she came in on the 5th voluntarily as a witness. On the 6th, they arrested her. She was no longer a witness. She was a murder suspect.
muck duck.
Yeah. So they, she asked for a lawyer, and they told her it's only going to make things worse. So we're not going to give you a
they were
lawyer.
like, you're going to get a lawyer and then you're going to go to jail for
They
30
told
years.
they told her it's going to make things worse, and you will for sure go to jail for 30 years. So she didn't really know what to do. I mean, I'm 30, and shit, if I was brought in, I would be like, fuck, I'd shit my pants. I wouldn't know what to do. And she was only 20. So she did have an interpreter, but like the language barrier still was difficult to like get through.
Yep.
I wish you guys could have seen the jig that Meg just did to say "get through."
Yeah,
It was
it was good, right?
It was like a hula hoop.
It was a jig.
So Amanda was questioned all night long. This was going overnight. She said that she spent all night being questioned. Police didn't believe her story of being at Raffaele's house all night. And so they were really trying to dispute her, which, I mean, this is a questioning tactic often done by police. She said that she was manipulated, stressed, and pressurized. I don't know what that means, but those are Amanda's
Pressurized?
words.
I believe
No,
that's
that's a
the way you cook a turkey.
No, that's literally the quote. She
Yeah,
said pressurized.
She said pressurized. These are Amanda's words. The interpreter was telling her that she probably didn't remember because it was so traumatizing. So she needed to try to remember something else.
Yeah, the quote was, Who is it? Who is it?
Yeah,
Who is it?
I'm getting to that.
Yep.
They were convinced she was trying to protect someone. Like they thought she was in on this, or she at least knew who did this, and she was trying to protect them. Which honestly, why? She was just asked over and over again, "Who is it? Who is it?" She was saying that the officer was like slapping her in the head and was like, "Who is it? Remember right now. Who is it?" And she'd like just keep slapping her in the back of the head
For hours.
this was happening all night. They referred to the text messages, to
Never mind.
Lumumba, and she
She
was not. Yeah, she did.
She
She was-
I put in the numbers and then I hit this and I go da da da.
While being questioned all night, she was not allowed access to food, to water, or to the bathrooms.
But later, the prosecutor testified, no. We gave her food, water, and the bathroom. We just interviewed her firmly but politely.
Yes, that's what their words were. We interviewed her firmly but politely, and they were like, no, like we allowed her these things. But it's also interesting.
There's no video evidence that shows her leaving the interrogation room or food or water coming into the
And
interrogation
that is
room.
why,
Yeah.
my friends, when you are ever getting interrogated, the very first thing you should do is pee your
Shut the
pants.
fuck up.
Yeah.
What, pee first, and
Best
then,
league-
STFU.
Best legal advice, STFU.
and then
Shut
pee
the
your
fuck
pants.
up. And then like Amanda said, she was refused a lawyer. She like requested one, and they said, no, it's going to make things worse. They were like, no, we asked you if you had a lawyer. And they were like, we never hit her. But again, like she had 2 law student roommates. So saying that she didn't have access to a lawyer is a big load of hockey to me.
We really are Canadian.
They-
Lots of hockey.
Load of hockey.
Load
Load
of
of
hockey, eh?
All the boot.
Just doing the boot.
This is Amanda, a young 20-year-old being questioned overnight. She finally broke, and she admits to this. She's like, I lied. I said that Lumumba, did it, that he killed my roommate. And it was just like the pressure of everything. And she says that she was brainwashed by the police, which, I get it.
It's called forced coercion. What is it?
Mhm,
Forced coercion.
Yeah, forced
And
coercion.
she wasn't able to talk to legal counsel until November 11th.
yeah, November 11th was her first meeting with a lawyer.
So what, 5 days? 5 days.
5 days.
5 days.
after she's charged.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
She
Yeah.
had no idea what was going on the outside. Like when she finally got to speak to her mom was like, no, this is insane. Like we're being harassed. This is an international story. And Amanda's like, what are you talking about? During this time, bloodstained fingerprints found at the crime scene matched Good. Is that his last name?
Rudy Geed.
Rudy Geed. They matched Rudy Geed. And so he had actually, this is important, you guys. He fled the country.
Yep.
Really?
So he was extradited back to Italy after they found these
So,
bloody hand footprints.
A little,
Handprints.
just
Find him.
a
Fingerprints.
Just
Fingerprints.
a tiny little background on Geed. Geed is an Ivory Coast native. He was born in the Ivory Coast. So he was 20 years old at the time of the murder, and he had been living in Perugia since the age of 5. But he was known by locals as kind of this real shady character, like loosely linked to break-ins and burglaries, and
Yes.
like never convicted, but like everybody knew that he was
Like, watch your
that
shit
guy.
around Rudy.
Yeah. So getting back to it, like
And
We have
his-
a Rudy that we should watch our
Also,
shit around in here in America.
with that, so he was linked to burglaries.
Mhm. But he was a frequent guest of
Meredith's wallet was stripped clean of
Right.
all its like credit cards and cash.
so like kind of like generally points to him, and he was a friend of the occupants of the downstairs flat, so he had knowledge that Kercher was there.
She was
etc.
alone.
So that's Rudy, and they during this investigation, while Amanda's being questioned, they're doing forensics in the apartment, and they find bloody
They
fingerprints.
find his bloody fingerprints. He's extradited back to Italy.
Yeah, he flees the country.
All 3 were charged. So they found these fingerprints and they're like, let's charge Rudy, Raffaele, and Amanda.
Together as conspiracy to commit murder.
And because the police's story was that they did this together. I don't really know how they came up with that, but they came up with the idea that the 3 of them committed this murder. Knox, like I said, Knox said she was brainwashed by police into saying it was Lumumba and implicating herself. This became like a huge international story. Like I said, you guys, I lived in, like, I grew up in Washington, and this story was everywhere, and it was really
massive.
big. Like, it was huge, but it was on, like, all day in Washington.
And it was the year after.
It was like the sweet girl from Seattle, like, from our home place, and, like, what happened?
And these high-profile cases, this was on the heels of, I believe, the Lacey Peterson case. Yeah, it's 2006 was the year of the Lacey Peterson case. So America's still very interested in these super high-profile cases, and Amanda Knox hits less than a year after Scott Peterson and all that. So
Yeah.
it's a media sensation.
So while this is happening, they're interrogating Amanda, and they take her blood to run some forensic evidence. And
For to run.
for to run.
Four to two.
Run.
To run forensic evidence against the apartment and against, more importantly, like Meredith's room. The police come back and tell Amanda that she is HIV positive.
What?
So
Listen, I know it's exciting. I'm excited too. It's a good
I
story.
am a little concerned how excited my wife was about an HIV positive test, but like, let's continue.
legal or not, this was a ploy by the police. They told her she was HIV positive so that she would write down her sexual partners for the time that she was in Italy.
She's just thinking, I need to write these down because I need to figure
I need to
out
tell
like
them.
who I need to call and say like, yo, go get tested.
Wow.
But they wrote it down so that they could figure they could do DNA testing to see if any one of her sexual partners were an accomplice in the murder.
So while
Again, coercion.
Oh yeah, for sure.
coercion. This is, like,
littered with it.
terrible.
Yeah.
this is very bad
So
police work.
when that list, you know, Meg, I'll let you go ahead and tell.
So
this
this
part.
list is part of Amanda's journal, and she's been keeping a journal the whole time she's in jail. Like, she's just distraught, you know. And I don't know how this happened, but parts of her journal were getting leaked to the media, including her like sexual partners. And so then they started to run all these media stories about how she was this huge slut and like
she was into deviant sexual
deviant
behavior.
sexual behavior. She was like a
bondage.
witch and bondage and like satanic like behavior that
Which
she was committing.
Most of was just total salacious lies.
Mhm. They got the MySpace, which they named her Foxy Noxy. Yeah, like it was not good. And then it turns out, and I don't know exactly when she learned she was not HIV positive.
Mm-hmm.
And that the police had just made this story up to, you know, make her look bad. Like they really walked into this and saw Amanda like being weird. We actually didn't get into that, so
Mhm.
I'm going to backtrack a little. So Amanda has some very odd behaviors. And
It was the night that she voluntarily went in to be interviewed.
yeah,
She's waiting in the lobby to talk to investigators
while her boyfriend's in there talking.
while her boyfriend's in there being interviewed, and her boyfriend comes out. So Raffaele comes out, sits down, and they're like making out at the police station. She's doing cartwheels in the lobby and singing. Like nothing happened.
And someone said, like, someone was like, oh, I hope excuse me. Someone was like, oh, I hope Meredith didn't suffer. And Amanda looked at them and said, of course she suffered. Her throat was cut, which to me, I feel like I would respond in the same way. Like if someone was like, oh, I hope this person didn't suffer, I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? You're a monster. Of course they suffered.
Of
Yeah.
course she did.
And that, like, when the police came and they were like looking at the apartment and everything, Amanda and her boyfriend were outside making out. There is video of it, and like that is weird.
That's not
I
great.
I understand like a hug and being comforted, but the making out while like your roommate is dead and you're just finding this out, that's
Especially
kind of
after
odd.
only knowing each other for less than a week.
She's just
Maybe.
different. Like
I just think she's a little different, but I don't think it's like an admission of guilt that like, oh, she was kissing her boyfriend while they were
It's just-
waiting
it's
outside.
weird.
But it's weird.
Really
Right.
weird.
Right.
Doing cartwheels in the middle of a police
That's a
station,
little odd.
that's a
That's
little
odd.
weird.
Yeah.
Even if you are just there to support your boyfriend
Was
while
she
he's being-
high on the spicy meatball?
no.
No.
Maybe I shouldn't say that. We're close to Little Italy.
So between the time that she volunteers her interview on the 5th, is arrested on the 6th, and November 30th, all this investigatory material is being compiled. They're, running down suspects and potentials, and they formally charge on I think it was the 11th, they charge Guide, Knox, and Solicito with murder, and it's brought to a panel of 3
With
judges.
murder, defamation, and faking a
Crime scene.
burglary. Yeah,
Yeah.
like faking a crime scene.
So this has in the Italian code of law, this has to be brought before not one, but a panel of 3 judges to independently look at the evidence and vote, essentially, to bring the charges.
I also want to note, it's very important. You go, babe, and then I'll continue. So they were collecting all this evidence. And like we said before, this crime scene was fully contaminated.
Oh, yeah. People just walking through it.
But when they got to Meredith's room and took the evidence, there is not one piece of evidence that Amanda was in there.
Yep.
There's no fingerprints. There's no like DNA. There's nothing in there saying that Amanda was in the room.
Right.
Now, the rest of the house, she lived there. Her DNA is all over the place.
And the investigation continues beyond November, and we'll in a second we'll come across the piece of evidence that's used to against Solicito.
And Rudy's DNA is everywhere. Like all over Meredith's room.
That's a lot.
Okay.
I think we should take a break.
Okay.
And when we get back, we'll get into
the trial
and the aftermath and kind of what happened with that. So
sounds good.
We will catch you guys after the break.
Welcome back to the second half of the Foxy Noxy episode.
Foxy Noxy,
in the year of Free Britney.
Damn it.
It's still a thing.
Free
All right,
Britney.
so
Still a thing.
Foxy Noxy, Free Britney will be our title.
Getting back to Rudy Geet.
I cannot wait to do a Dogman episode.
Oh,
that's Crackpot Corner.
I'm really
and then I can
busy
be like,
that
who
day.
let the dogs out?
Who? All right, so getting back to Geet. After his fingerprints were found at the crime scene, Geet was exercised.
He was exorcised.
He was exorcised from Germany.
I have exorcised the demons.
He was extradited from Germany, and he allegedly knew that he wanted to clear his name. So what does anybody do? They opt for a fast track trial. Held in closed sessions with no jury and only the judge.
Okay.
And only the judge.
Okay.
Fuck.
So with this fast track trial, they did not tell Geet that they found DNA evidence inside Meredith's yoo-hoo.
Yoo-hoo.
Just to be clear, we're talking about her vagina.
Yes.
Her vajinga.
Yes.
And not her chocolate.
Yoo-hoo, big summer blowout.
So it's interesting.
For all of those who need scientific terms, the yoo-hoo is the vagina.
The vajayjay.
For those scientific terms, we look to Meg.
Well, you know what? Like everyone all today is like, you need to use the scientific terms.
We're going to continue. I love you.
I love you.
So why this was such
why
this was such a surprise is Geet said that he and Kercher had kissed and had touched, but did not have sexual intercourse because they did not have condoms.
Yes.
So
yeah, that stopped the history of mankind from having sexual relations.
We just pull out.
Of course. So between the DNA found in Kercher's room, and
lots of DNA,
and the DNA found inside Kercher,
like it was his blood was mixed with her blood on her
all
sweater, and his DNA was literally all over her room.
But he told at his trial, because he opted for a fast track trial, they never had sex and he had never been in her room. So as you can imagine,
liar, pants on fire.
That was a very quick conviction because he lied in his testimony, though the DNA evidence pointed otherwise.
And what I also find interesting is that he did not include anyone else in his story. So he never said that like Amanda or Raffaele were at the house, but yet they're continuing to convict those two of the crimes as well.
So the evidence that they found in the trial against Solicito. Now remember, the murder happened on the 2nd, and the judge approved the charges on November 30th, less than a month later.
Yes.
46 days after the
Murder.
murder happened, they found a bra clasp under a rug in Meredith's room that had Solicito's DNA on it.
Seems like shoddy police work.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is bad.
And when Solicito and Knox were tried together, this was the piece of evidence found 46 days after the murder, after the crime scene had already been
Contaminated
and
whole bunches.
they had taken the police tape down and like press was allowed to go in. And then they found the bra strap or the bra clasp.
And remember, he was the first one to try to get that door down. So
Mm-hmm. So this was the lone piece of evidence that they used to convict Solicito.
and Amanda.
I thought Amanda was the knife. The knife was,
But part of this story was like that Meredith was like getting on Amanda for her lifestyle and that she was like slutty because
oh yeah.
this is totally a story concocted by the police in Italy. Is that Amanda had Solicito and Rudy at the house and they were all hanging out and Meredith was like, I don't really approve of your like relationship and of what you're doing. You guys have to watch this cartoon because it is hilarious because it is literally a cartoon that they did to animate this.
It was an Indonesian cartoon.
Indonesian cartoon that they did to animate this story that they're concocting.
That will go into the Instagram post.
Yeah.
Oh,
find
it looks like
hilarious.
The Sims.
It does look like Sims.
Yeah.
I will find
So
it.
they're saying, this is what happened. And from there, Amanda got upset. She was defending herself and pushing Meredith around. And the guys just wanted to please Amanda and were like trying to do everything to be on her good side. So Solicito was the one who like held Meredith down. And then Guide was the one who raped her. And they let Amanda kill her.
Yep.
This is all like this is a very detailed story told by the Italian police.
Sounds like they watched too many Criminal Minds.
Probably did, but
Or
it's a
not
good
enough.
show. Not enough. I'm going to go
So-
with not enough.
Now that we know that at some point in time, Solicito was convicted, Guide was convicted, and he was sentenced to 30 years, though on later appeal, strictly under procedural terms, his sentence was reduced to 16 years and upheld by the Italian Supreme Court. So he's in jail since 2008 for 16 years, like no chance of getting out early.
So he's going to be out in just a few years.
Just a
is
few
what you're
years.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now we're fast forwarding. We're going to talk about Amanda and Raffaele's trial and their whole saga, and that will wrap up the story. So their trial begins on January 16th of 2009,
Mm-hmm.
almost a year and a half after the charges are brought. So she's been held in detention
They've been in prison
for 18 months.
in Italy, in a foreign country for poor Amanda.
Yep. So during the trial, according to the prosecution, Knox attacked Kercher in her bedroom, repeatedly banged her head against the wall, which I don't know how they got determined this, forcefully held her face and tried to strangle her.
Mm-hmm.
But prosecution also suggested that Knox had taunted Kercher and said, "You acted the goody-goody so much, and now we're going to show you what that brings you. You're going to be forced to have sex."
So like they're
Quote,
just
unquote.
making up stories.
Yep. The prosecution hypothesized that Guide, Knox, and Solicito had removed Kercher's jeans and held her on her hands while Guide sexually assaulted her, and then Knox had cut her throat with a kitchen knife.
So this kitchen knife that Jay is talking about has a very small speckle of DNA on the blade that at the time, this is important, is Meredith's. And there is a small speckle on the handle that is Amanda's. Not a fingerprint, not like, oh, I grabbed this knife. And not like a ton of blood, like a little speckle and then a little speckle.
Like, even if you wash
But
off
where would her blood
blood,
come from?
it's a kitchen knife. She could have cut herself cooking, and then it's been washed over and over and over. It
Yeah.
was the DNA trace was so small,
I
it
see.
didn't point to large amounts of blood ever being on the knife.
Yeah.
I see.
So I think when we watched the documentary, they equated it to a skin cell.
So
as
like
the
when
amount of
you,
evidence they found
when
on
you
the blade.
rub your fingers together like this,
You actually
I'm
release
rubbing my
thousands
fingers,
of skin cells
audience.
into the room.
Yeah.
And
My DNA is all over this place, motherfuckers.
and it's the documentary was saying less than, if you had done this over the knife, that's the amount of DNA they found on the knife. Like,
Just
and-
so you guys know, Jay just like was literally rubbing his
oh yeah,
fingers
flicking. I'm
together.
sorry, like flicking.
Wow.
But Amanda Knox's fingerprint was found on the handle of the blade, Duh, it was a kitchen knife. She used the kitchen knife.
Nope. It's fishy to me.
That's also the amount of DNA that they found on that bra clasp of Raffaele's was
Yep.
literally like if he was like just moving his fingers and his DNA went about the room.
A boot.
A boot.
A boot.
And this
The
is
room.
also like, you know, he could have been shoving the door and like walked by or something after they opened it and his DNA would have filtered into
Maybe
her room.
he had dandruff. He should have been using
Exactly.
salsa
Right.
blue.
So these are the pieces of evidence that were used to ultimately convict them on
Which-
the 5th of December,
We're going to come back to this.
2009. It took a year of testimony for this trial to conclude and for the jury to render a verdict. Go ahead, Mike.
So, okay, so that is the verdict for this 2009. Now in 2010, they appealed their
20. So they were convicted and sentenced to 26 years
26 years in prison.
for Amanda and 25 years for Raffaele.
Yes.
Yep.
And 2010, they did appeal their case. And so the defense brought in a like third party person to look at the evidence again. And like, if you guys watch this interview, this lady means business. Like,
Oh, she's so mean.
she's a little scary. Like, woo. She means business about her job, and she's like ripping into the Italian police
she, like,
about
reviewed
their job.
She reviewed the DNA evidence and she was like, I don't know who made that determination, but they're stupid.
She's like, they're stupid. She's like, this was definitely contaminated with. She had evidence that, like the knife and the bra clasp had been contaminated. And also she was like, further looking at this evidence, if I'm looking at this knife that they're using to convict Amanda, okay, sure, there's a tiny, like, little bit of evidence of Amanda on the handle, but on the blade, it was inconclusive as to, like, what the DNA evidence was. So it wasn't even conclusive that it was Meredith. Now, on the bra clasp that got Solicito, yeah, okay, so there's this tiny little piece of evidence of Solicito, but there's, like, 30 pieces of evidence of Gede on there.
Right. And like of the DNA, you need like 8 points of contact out of 16 to like officially use it. And I think they had 3.
Yeah.
3 out of 16 like strands match. And they're like, oh, close enough.
It was close enough. So it's funny because the head of police was like getting very irritated about this.
Yes.
And because they were basically calling out the Italian police and saying like, you know, this was a huge media story and you guys just took this young girl and made her out to be evil, and they're
For no reason.
for no reason. Americans were actually very upset by this case. They said that it was just a huge
Kerfluffle?
miscarriage is
Colonel.
apparently what I wrote. I don't think so.
Miscarriage of
A
justice.
miscarriage of justice. The pre-trial was totally blown out of proportion with the publicity. They really just tried to frame Amanda Knox and say that this girl is guilty, that it was very anti-Americanism, and that like Italy was really gunning for her and her family because they don't like Americans.
Told you Europeans don't like Americans.
Okay, but like the European dudes were like, check out this hottie.
I mean, I feel like
because
that's
she's
all
forbidden.
What?
No, that's just all dudes looking at girls. It's not anything to do with their country of origin.
Yeah, but seriously, most European countries fucking hate Americans.
This is true.
They're
This is
nice.
why
They're
this-
nice,
They're
but
nice,
they
but they don't
fucking
like
hate
you.
them.
That's why when you
Yeah.
go, you say you're Canadian because everyone likes Canadians.
And say a boot.
say a boot.
Yeah, but then if they ask you geography, you're like, I'm sorry, no.
All I say is I'm
Ever
from
heard of Toronto?
Is that east or west coast?
Saskatchewan.
Canada.
west side.
Yes.
There was also a journalist who was reporting on this case, and she said that the conviction had not been based on solid evidence, and that, you know, it was in fact the resentment of the Knox family. U.S. experts were speaking out against the lack of DNA evidence and like hard evidence to convict Amanda. Italy was getting very pissed off that the U.S. was coming out and being like, yo, Italian justice system, like, what the fuck's your problem?
Mhm.
And they were, you know, Donald Trump. I love
What?
this clip. This clip is funny because like Donald Trump's like calling out. He's like, I want the president to go in and help her. And then later he became the president. So I just think that's
Yeah,
kind
and
of
he
funny.
was like, oh, they should boycott Italy.
They should boycott Italy and they should go save her. But I mean, like, you know, good for Donald Trump for trying to
Today
help
I
this girl.
learned
I'm gonna
what the
go kill
word.
myself
Today I
right
learned what the word
fucking now.
Lily's
boycott
gonna-
means. Today I'm going to use the word boycott
Lily's
37
gonna kill
times.
herself
37
because
times. I'm
Donald
Donald
Trump wanted to help a
Do you
girl.
want a Tic Tac?
Anyways, trying to, excuse me, put this girl like on fire for murder. There's the Idaho Innocence Project, which I believe Amanda Knox is like affiliated to now. It's one of the Innocence Projects.
Yeah,
but
I think it's in Washington. She's one of the executive directors.
She's one of
now.
the executive directors.
That's amazing.
This, but the Idaho Innocence Project is to help people who have been wrongfully convicted. They came out and they were like, "Hey, these forensic results point to this guy Geed. Why are you convicting, this girl Amanda?" So they really tried to like speak out on her behalf. And so this like appeal happened. They reviewed the DNA evidence. They brought this fancy lady in and they were like, you know what? Doesn't look like Amanda and Raffaele did this. So they're free to go.
Yeah, on October
Good.
3rd, 2011, after they've spent.
October 3rd?
Yes.
Nice.
October 3rd, 2011.
Mean girls. Come on, guys.
Knox and Solicito were acquitted. And in the ruling, the court the court kind of scolded the Italian like justice system. They said, quote unquote, this trial was not corroborated by any objective element of evidence, and saying that the report that was used to convict them contained the word probably 39 times. So the word probably
Oh, it's like
instead
the
of-
word interesting.
yeah. So the word probably
Interesting.
39
It's
times in the
probably
report,
interesting.
and there was no statements that the evidence directly linked Knox, Solicito, or Geed to the murder, that this was all implied.
I feel like probably it was in my wife's wedding vows like 39 times too.
I had great wedding vows.
Probably.
So in Italy, after you're acquitted, what does prosecution do? Drop the case and move on? No. They ask for a new trial.
That's America.
Because in Italy, you can try again.
Yeah.
As
and
many
again.
times as you
Jeopardy,
want.
And again.
like,
Stupid
yeah.
double prosecution.
So
Love double prosciutto.
following a successful prosecution request, there was a retrial of Knox and Solicito at the second level.
This was actually in 2013, but it lasted 3 years.
The trial lasted 3 years. The only new evidence that came to the court-ordered analysis was the previously unexamined sample of the blade of the Solicito's kitchen knife. So they reviewed this DNA again. And the sample was tested by the court-appointed experts. Go ahead, Meg.
There was also a note that Knox had written in the police station. It did not mention Geed, but they regarded this as a note that implied that Knox and Geed committed this crime. So they used this note that
What did it say?
Yeah.
It says that it's confirmation that she and Geed were present at the house, the Via della Pergola 7, their apartment.
Mm-hmm.
It just said that the two of them were there, but this note also did not mention Geed at all.
So this knife,
Yes, confusingly.
this knife that's being re-examined was found to have no DNA belonging to Kercher now. So
Mhm.
now it's degraded so much there's no DNA. Despite the negative result for the prosecution, the courts returned verdicts of guilty for Amanda and Solicito,
Mhm.
Raffaele. So they've been found guilty, acquitted. Now they're re-found guilty, so they appeal again.
Again.
And on March 27th, 2015, so 8 years after this whole ordeal began,
Yeah.
the highest court in Italy, the Court of Cassation, ruled that Knox and Solicito,
Capsaicin.
They're one T away from a real bad time.
they ruled that Knox and Solicito were in fact innocent of the murder, and thereby definitively ending the case.
They said that there was investigative amnesia. There were glaring errors.
What the hell is the investigative amnesia? Like, nah, I forgot how to investigate today.
But
Yeah.
they really just said police department, you fucked up.
WTF.
Yeah, and
Which-
their official court statement, they said that there is, quote, could not have materially participated in the homicide, since there was absolutely no biological traces
Mhm.
that could have attributed to them in the room at the time of the murder or on the body of the victim, where in contrast numerous traces were found attributable to Geed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep,
Well,
yep.
obviously, this then the question: what happens to Geed?
Geed's conviction
He's
is
in
upheld.
jail.
Yeah,
He's the only one in jail now for
He's
the
the one
murder.
still in jail. But so like,
Oh, he's the
Here's-
one that's going to get out in like
Mhm.
3 years.
couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so like, here's the thing though, like, because the police were really like, this was a huge case. It was very like, it was on the news every single day, and so they were really needing. You can also rate us.
We've looked into the void, and now we're haunted.
Follow us. Yeah.
Send us story suggestions.
Free Britney.
Free
Britney. Shallow dive.
Think like, oh, I just think she did it because she's kind of an oddball.
Well,
Yeah,
it sounds
she
like
is.
that it was at this moment they knew. They fucked up.
They knew
So-
they fucked up.
So they were convicted, acquitted, and finally acquitted.
Mm-hmm.
And the prosecutor on this case, do you think he was fired? Oh, no.
No, yo, he got promoted.
He got promoted to the prosecutor general of Italy.
Sounds like the Jaminet case.
Yeah, it
I
definitely.
wonder.
He fucked up so bad.
They
were like, you know
promoted
what?
his ass.
You're going to be the lead prosecutor for the country.
See, it makes you wonder if there's some sort of cabal behind all of these prosecutions.
I just like it. Just goes to show how important it is to not make your mind up right away.
prematurely.
Mm-hmm.
Go in and collect every fucking bit
DNA,
And I
of
think-
evidence.
DNA is objective.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think if you can't do that, you're in the wrong line of work. And also,
Yeah.
if you ever get called into a police station, you guys
Lawyer up.
shut the fuck up and call a lawyer.
Jesus Christ! Just shut the fuck up.
That's gonna be our new.
Quiet.
That's gonna be our new T-shirt. Called in ? STFU.
Yeah,
Just shut up. Stop incriminating yourself.
Just
right?
and you know what? You know what? If you ever get in trouble at like this, always plead not fucking guilty.
I mean,
Always.
unless you did it, then obviously plead guilty
No.
because you're a scumbag.
No,
you
'cause
wait for the plea deal. The fucking
Yeah.
Not
I'm
guilty.
I'm
Don't
not
be an idiot.
advocating for people who are guilty of heinous crimes to do this. However, there is more often than not a procedural chance that you're going to not be convicted of this.
True.
Due process is your
Yes.
best friend.
Shut the fuck up
Just
and
shut up
plead
and let
not
your lawyer
guilty.
do their job.
Agreed.
Don't be a dummy.
Speaking of doing your job, if you guys could go on iTunes and throw us a review or even just a rating. I don't even ask that it's 5 stars. Just give us something, whatever you think. With that, Jay, I think you have something to say.
We've looked into the void, and now we're haunted.
Free Britney.
Free Britney.
Like we can't wait. Like we only have so much time to get to this boat. Go! We got to go!
I, at 15, lost my mom to a murder.
She came within a whisker of having her life profoundly altered in that moment.
And I thought, we'll get in somehow, like up the drain pipe, and confront them going about their covert wickedness.
They had about 10 SWAT-type vehicles. They surrounded the house.
There is this puzzle that becomes our lives, and it is easy to miss how the pieces fit together, but they do.
Feeling lost?
Then you're in the right place. I'm Christopher Robinson.
And I'm Amanda Knox. After 4 years in an Italian prison for a murder I didn't commit, I know what it's like to be absolutely stuck, to wind up in a life I never expected.
Together, we're bringing you Labyrinths, a new podcast about the upturns, downturns, wrong turns, and U-turns that shape our lives. For everyone's got their own personal maze.
Well, maybe this time I can sell drugs and I just won't use them. I said, oh no, I've got to think higher. This cannot be my destiny.
And we're all facing our own minotaurs.
I was forced into a marriage with a man that my family thought would be strong enough to control me. He's actually a member of Al-Qaeda.
When I got in the room with him, I wanted a sliver of remorse in this guy's eyes.
Yeah.
There was not. It was devastating.
There will be adventure.
And as we left, a dark green Lancia was following us. I'd never been tailed before by anyone, not least the henchman of the secret rulers of the world.
And catastrophe.
The best minute of my day, Amanda, is the minute before I wake up. That is the best minute of my day.
We'll be asking serious questions in silly ways.
Did Taco Bell do more to alleviate racial prejudice towards Hispanics in America than anybody else? Maybe. I'm serious.
We'll be treading into controversial territory.
I got emails from Trump supporters saying, thanks so much for finally talking about the way the left is being. And then I got all these emails from people on the left saying, this is exactly what people need to know about Trump supporters. And I just kind of said, all right, well, this is going to get ugly at some point.
And looking for the truth.
My life was changed by a corrupt judge, not by Roman Polanski. People can say whatever they want, but it'll never be the truth. I know what the truth is, and that's all I need.
And the truth is, your life can change in a moment.
Life is a labyrinth, a never-ending series of problems and opportunities.
So come on, get lost with us, starting October 16th, as we bring you stories from Andrew Yang,
Malcolm Gladwell,
John Ronson,
Dave Navarro,
Yasmeen Mohammed,
LeVar Burton, and others.
Listen to Labyrinths on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen.
And I thought, well, whatever happens is going to be kind of interesting.